Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Miguel Speaks. So, I hope everyone is doing well today. Today is the 13th of January 2021, and I'm here in the house. It's kind of interesting how, R&B talk and hip hop talk has infiltrated the culture. Infiltrated? I don't know about infiltrated. It's just become really common, and a lot of people use it. I'm in the house, but you know what? I know also that is old school, original G. That's OG phraseology. Probably very few people use in the house these days. But I wouldn't know that because I'm actually not keeping track of hip hop culture. But maybe some of you folks out there are, and if you are aware, maybe you can tell me whether in the house is actually still, maybe you can say down in the comments whether in the house is still a phrase that people use a lot. Now, I think it has to, the in the house reference comes from rappers who were playing, say, underground venues that were actually in a person's house or maybe in some kind of rented theater somewhere, and it's just sort of generally accurate to say in the house. And also it's actually a very nice generalization because it takes an extra second to think about where exactly you are at the moment. So I really can understand. Oh wow, I just saw a shooting star. Whoa, that was really beautiful. Anyway, shooting star sighting. I'm lucky that I get to see this beautiful sky every evening. Anyway, back to what I was saying about old school hip hop language seeping into our culture. Actually, our culture is partially hip hop. In fact, I would say that hip hop's probably one of the hip hop and rap definitely are two of the more popular genres of music these days, and it's been going strong for decades. I know that every time I go to YouTube and check out what music videos are trending, let me tell you, hip hop is definitely at the top of the list. I would say of all the tracks, like say in the top 10 music lists, I would guess 6 to 8 of them are hip hop tracks. Yeah, so that's definitely caught fire, and even in the 2020s, the early 2020s is definitely the music for people to listen to these days. And I am finding that they're making that, I think that music is sort of getting a broader appeal in general, and I'm finding myself liking it here and there. One song here, one song there. So I can appreciate it. And in fact, actually, as I've grown older, my music listening habits have gotten more eclectic. I can appreciate basically any kind of music. And so I appreciate that. I have a really wide, sort of a broad-based appreciation for music. I love classical to Gregorian chants to jazz, hip-hop, metal, heavy metal, grunge, just so many kinds of music I enjoy. Tribal music, and even nature music, relaxation, spa music. I'm all up in there, all that various kinds of music. I even like video game music. Occasionally I talk about video games. Chiptune is a variety of music I like a lot too. Really takes me back to my days. But what's kind of interesting is that the music that I really resonate with when it comes to chiptune is music that even today's video gamers can't relate to because the music is so freaking old. It's like 20, 30 years. It's like 30, 40 years old. Or maybe 30 years old. And, it's kind of interesting. The chiptune music that people listen to these days, I have no clue about it because it's all these newfangled video games that are coming out on the Xbox and on the PS5. on PlayStation, and also all the stuff on the newer versions of like the Nintendo Switch, things like that. So I can't relate, which is kind of interesting, to the newer video game music. It's the older video game music that I can relate to, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of funny how, I used to be on the cutting edge of culture when I was a young child, definitely when I was a teenager, but now I'm really finding myself lagging behind, particularly when it comes to music and video games. I'm just out of the loop. And it's kind of funny. It's not because I don't play video games or don't listen to music. It's just that I just don't listen and play to the most modern games or music. So it's kind of funny. I guess, this probably has to do with brain plasticity, right? I'm just not connecting with the music that I'm listening to these days. Although I must tell you, I am connecting. If I spend any amount of time listening to it, I invariably connect with it. And I really I've actually gone to concerts of musicians that are like, 20 years old and younger. So, when I allow myself to spend some time listening to music, I can enjoy it. But I'll tell you, you might be asking yourself, well, what does Miguel do anyway all day long? I don't know, honestly. I think I'm just doing tasks and errands and going to work and hanging out with my girlfriend, and I'm not sure that I'm doing anything in particular that is sort of antithetical to listening to music. I don't know. I just am finding that I'm falling behind. I think what I need to do is I need to start watching all the shows related to like the GMA Awards and the MTV Music Awards and the Young Person Awards, the videos and the music and actors and actresses. I really need to start tuning into that sort of stuff. I think maybe the main reason I'm falling behind is because I'm not watching television, which of course is crazy, given that nobody's watching television today. At least nobody who's hip and cool, or is as hip and cool as I am. A lot of people, it's not that they're watching television. What are they doing? They're watching YouTube. Speaking of watching YouTube, I've sometimes taken some time to watch the videos that are trending on YouTube. And let me tell you, I cannot make heads or tails of that stuff. And I'm not. Some of the videos that are on YouTube are just not making sense to me. I'm just don't get a sense of what's going on there. Yeah. But apparently they're getting likes and upvotes and subscribes and stuff like alerts. But I think I'm having a more difficult time relating to culture today, which is not surprising. And so I don't know. This gets back to this idea of retirement. That's the last thing that I really need to be doing right now. Talk about sort of unhooking from the current culture, whether it's today's work culture or the economy. I mean, I tell you, in order to be abreast of all the changes that are going on in entertainment and media and politics, you need to stay plugged in. And, I think work is a big part of staying plugged in. It's, so, I really feel for those people who are retiring and are just dropping out and turning off and unplugging. That is not the way to go, man. I mean, let me tell you, I'm a person who likes to and generally keep up to date with stuff. Certainly with technology and some forms of entertainment, like books that are being written and stuff like that. But even I am finding it challenging to deal with basically the fire hose of content that's coming through the internet these days. There's so much stuff going on, and I can only, it's sort of like surfing the waves of the ocean. I can only hit the peaks of every wave. which is fine. I mean, it took me a good 10, 15 years to finally plug into Harry Potter, but I eventually plugged into Harry Potter. And now I'm kind of a Potterhead, although I don't have any, I don't have a subscription to Pottermore or anything like that. But I've played the Potter games, the Harry Potter game, on my smartphone and stuff like that. I don't know, it takes me some time to plug in. I wish there was a place to go to plug in. I guess there are. Amazon actually does a pretty good job of sort of telling us what are the best-selling novels and books. And there's like Google Analytics telling us things about what people are surfing on the internet, and I'll tell you that's actually quite valuable. I think Amazon does a pretty good job of telling us what products are being purchased, so that's nice. So I guess it's kind of funny there. Not only is it harder to stay abreast with the world and the trends and culture and society, but it's also easier than it's ever been. So that's kind of interesting. And it's kind of interesting that personally I feel that there's value to staying abreast with what's going on in the world. What's that about anyway? Why would it be so important for me to do that? Why would I start thinking twice about retiring, instead of dropping out of culture? Well, here's the thing. For me, you're probably aware that for me, it's all about the community. It's about this helping society and, being a contributor and helping people out. And, in order to do that, you need to be informed. You sort of need to understand what's going on in the world. And I just don't think dropping out's the right thing to do. I don't think, for me, it's just not really part of my. There's also a self-interest aspect to it, of course. It's actually strongly self-interested. Quite often what happens in retirement is that people sort of stop developing their skill sets, and they stop changing with the technology and culture. And that's really important because, man, I'll tell you, here's one thing. If I figure that if I just stopped working and got out of the workforce because of, say, I got injured or something like that, and let's say I stayed out of the workforce for like 2 years, my sense is that it would be very hard to get back into the workforce, even after dropping off for 2 years, just for 2 years. There's just something about, I don't know, there's something about earning an income. It basically forces you to adapt and sort of work in step with the culture. And I think that's part of survival. I think there's some intrinsic survival benefit with being plugged into the culture. There just is. You're able to engage in conversations with people about current events, about what's on people's minds. You're basically able to resonate with everybody else, with what's going on in the world. I mean, look at this. I'm sure that as a retired person, it's entirely possible for me to have dropped out to the extent that I barely even know what coronavirus is. Now, I don't know if it's very easy to do that, since coronavirus has really sort of gotten into every nook and cranny of everybody's mind here on the planet, but I have a feeling that it's in fewer nooks and crannies in some people's minds, and I would guess that those people who are, say, not working and who are isolated are paying less attention to it, right? The Henry David Thoreaus of the world, which I'm sure there are plenty of them out there, but let me tell you, that's not a way to continue to. Here's the thing. As human beings on the planet, we're all connected, strongly connected in this web of life. And I want to stay connected to the web on a social level, on an intellectual level, on a physical level. Basically I'm like a crow who's got their tribe, their crow that's got their murder, right? The murder of crows, the group of crows, and I'm moving along with the group. And I'm not about to separate myself from the group because, let me tell you, what's out there. When you become less able to be sort of coordinated in the world and to figure out what's going on with your partners, you lose survival advantages. Here's an example: the vaccine. Here's a great example, really. So the virus is moving around all the planet right now, infecting lots of people, and it turns out that the best strategies for avoiding it are strategies, not that I didn't come up with these strategies, but I got to know about these strategies through various media and being plugged into society. Not only that, but there is a vaccine that's on its way. And how is it that I have access to the vaccine in a timely manner, in a timely way? Well, that access arrives in the fact that I'm actually part of this urban center. There's like a workplace center too, where because I'm part of the urban center and the workplace center, I have the ability to get access to the vaccine. Not right now, because I've got to wait in line like everybody else. But if I had been separated from society, I wouldn't have not only the benefit of knowing about, first of all, that the virus existed or how to avoid the virus, but I also have the benefit of not getting the virus at all, if I get timely access to the vaccine, which I think I will, if I'm just lucky enough to avoid it. So this is pretty incredible stuff, and even though there are a lot of folks who, let's say, who are retired and who are living in long-term care facilities and who will be getting the vaccine first, there are plenty of older people who are not plugged in, who don't know what the hell's going on, and they are missing their opportunities to getting the vaccine. They're missing their opportunities for getting the vaccine now precisely because they've dropped out. So anyway, I think my point is made. I think my point not only is clear, but I think I don't even have to make the point. But I guess what I do want to do is I want to emphasize the point by describing a value that I hold very closely. And so I guess what I need, if I'm going to provide any argument, the argument not only doesn't have to be that the argument makes sense or is cogent or valid. It's that the value deserves attention and honor and focus. That's I guess the kind of argument I need to make, that it's important, that it's so important, so almost so overridingly important, that a person should choose not to retire instead of to retire. Hey, wait, guess what? All that money that I might have otherwise spent in retirement, I could just pass on to my children, right? To my child. What a wonderful gift when I pass away, just to hand off that money to the next generation. Sure, okay, they'll spend it. I don't care. I won't have any use for it because I'll be dead. But anyway, yeah. The thing is, I've also had a number of personal experiences where being around retired people, which is great. They're fine, enjoyable people. There's a lot to glean from them in terms of their life experience and what they're going through, their bravery and their courage, their intelligence. But I don't know. When I see the difference between people who are plugged in and people who are not plugged in, I'm going to choose the people who are plugged in every time. Anyway, I guess that's all I got to say. I hope you have an amazing day, and I guess I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.